Hey everyone, Lucy and Ryan here to break down another episode of Game of Thrones. This time it's Season 8, Episode 2, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Also the 69th episode of Game of Thrones. Very nice. It was very nice.
Very nice, very nice.
I'm so sorry. Tam and Dave will be back later on in this episode to break down another fan theory, but from next week, we're going to get them more involved. Don't worry. We've read your comments. We miss them too. We want to get them more involved. Unfortunately, it is a holiday in the UK today, so that little segment has been pre-recorded. Luckily, it still stands up.
Yeah, it's great.
It's very good. Okay, so it's the night before the Bad Christmas.
Yes.
And this episode is basically just full of incredible little character moments, but let's break it down, things that you might have missed.
All right, so overall, this felt like, obviously, we're leading to something really big, but it also felt like a really fond farewell to a lot of characters that we've come to love.
Yes. I saw on Twitter, I cannot take any credit for this comparison, but someone on Twitter said it was like the bit before the suicide mission in Mass Effect 2, or actually the final mission in Mass Effect 3, where it knows that you've built up such a connection to all these characters, and it just gives you this kind of like just really nice characterization moment where you're essentially going around and saying goodbye to everyone, and there's romance scenes, and there's
definitely
it just feels like I don't want to watch the third episode.
it's gonna be super emotional. I mean, we got a little emotional this week, so next week, unfortunately, I think we're gonna say bye to a lot of characters that we've grown to love. But this was a good opportunity here to really see their true characters come out, and the values and all the great things about them, and why we kind of fell in love with them in the first place.
So let's start with Jaime's trial. So not actually as big a deal as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, you know, I think the same theme is coming up, is like the dead is on their doorstep. So it's like kind of get over all the past grievances, all the BS that was going down, and now it's time to like, okay. And if Bran, the big thing is that Bran didn't make a big deal of it, obviously. He's no longer that same person that he was before, and literally it was a step along the way in order to get him where he is today.
Yeah, again, and Bran just, you know, putting the boards, the pieces on the board in place. Yeah. But also, you know, they didn't talk about when Daenerys was going on about, my brother would tell us a bedtime story or whatever. Why didn't Jaime just say, like, he said that he was really truthful when he said to Bran, you know, like, and I'd do it again. Right. I'd push you out the window because it was for my family. Surely saying that you killed the Mad King because he was going to kill everyone's family would have been a really easy get out of jail
card. They left that bit out. Yeah, it's like Dany, she knows one story, one version of the story. Like, there's a whole lot that goes into it, and Jaime's defended himself before, and Brienne also knows. Obviously, Bran knows. Maybe even Sam has read up on it as well. So people could have spoken up and been like, you know, about your dad.
Your
like,
dad was kind of lame.
He went a little crazy. Sansa, as soon as she heard from Brienne, who's been honorable as anyone else in this whole show, as soon as she heard and she vouched for him, then it was like, okay, let's put away our past differences, as horrible, you know, as it's been before, and now let's move forward.
Hang on, so let's talk a little bit about Tyrion. I know I mentioned this last week.
Yeah.
What is going on with him? So in this bit, I've actually like kind of got everything from the rest of this episode, so I might be jumping forward a little bit. But Tyrion has been messing up pretty consistently for the past, I mean, all the way through season 7, like with Highgarden, Casterly Rock, you know, losing the Ironborn, well, as in like Euron attacking Yara's fleet.
Yep.
And he says, like, later on in the episode, it's like, I made a mistake common to clever people. I underestimated my opponents. But then there's people like Jorah who say that, you know, it's his mind. His mind is brilliant.
Yep.
Sansa says he's a good man. He's never been anything but decent to me. Daenerys is the only one who's realizing that he's messing up. And I just feel like there is clearly something more there. Has he made a pact?
The reason
What's he
why,
doing?
yeah, I know, I agree with you. He's on a losing streak, definitely. I mean, he's not making the right decisions, and that's the reason why he's there, right? She said it numerous times. His mind, and I honestly don't believe that he's in a secret pact, because if he was, why would you want to go to the place where you have the highest likelihood of dying?
That's
and
true.
have your brother there as well, right? Like, if you're in some secret pact, like you're gonna want to save your own ass and not be in Winterfell when the Night King is arriving. So,
but I mean, he did say something like, "I think we'll all survive." when they were all drinking.
That's the alcohol talking.
That's the alcohol talking. I want to believe that, but I also want to, maybe it's just the writers that are chalking, he's rolling ones, 1, 1, 1, and then he's gonna, score the big 6.
Yeah,
the big hero 6.
He needs to come through with a big win in this next decision that he makes. If it's some big, he's way too many L's. He needs a W, and Danny lets him know that, obviously, that can I trust you anymore? Like, what, his judgment is way off. So really cool to see kind of the internal struggle between that whole side.
If you can't help me take it back, I'll find another hand who can.
I suspect one of you will be wearing this before it's all over.
So then we're in the Godswood. You get Bran and Jaime having another little awkward reunion.
Yeah.
Incidentally, my favorite meme, I think, that came out of last week was when someone just had the scene of Bran and Jaime seeing each other for the first time and put the Curb Your Enthusiasm thing over Jaime's face. It was very good.
That was very good.
So this was kind of them talking and saying, my bad.
Yeah, hey, about all that, like,
sorry.
I'm sorry, and Bran, like we said, we've been saying, he kind of like lets it go because he knows that is not the battle to be fighting at this moment. But he is aware that, he lets Jaime know that, like, it was a horrible thing and he's done horrible stuff, but that, like, that's not the fight that we're doing right now.
He's the golden lion of House Lannister, and despite all the horrible things he's done, he has kind of like that knight's code.
Yes.
And he tries to still do the right thing, but it just depends who he's doing the right thing for.
Right. And
I think he always falls under just following other people's commands.
Right. And like the whole thing about him being called the Kingslayer, I think it's the rumor has kind of created this negative connotation with him around the entire.
Well, yeah, it's like Tyrion and Jon when they had that conversation where it's like, if you're a bastard, wear it, and then they can't use it to hurt you. And I think he's done the same thing.
Totally.
So an interesting thing here is that there's a lot of discussion online about if Bran can see the future.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's kind of a bit Infinity War-ish, where Doctor Strange is kind of going and he can see all the outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's that.
Yeah, he's going through all the
millions
of
outcomes.
Yeah.
So he saw Ned's death. Like, didn't he have a dream, I think, back in season 1 where he kind of predicted Ned's death. He saw a dream of the Great Sept of Baelor. Mm-hmm. So maybe there are some tentpole things that
big time
regardless of everything happening, all the outcomes will come together, and this will definitely happen. So the Sept of Baelor,
right?
Ned, but it's like when he was talking to the Three-Eyed Raven, OG Three-Eyed Raven, he said, past is already written, the ink is dry, so maybe the ink is still wet, which is why he doesn't know exactly. Let's say when he says to Jaime, right, where Jaime says, "What about afterwards?" He says, "How do you know there's going to be an afterwards?"
Right. No, I think he definitely has inklings of what could be. What happens, what it looks like, the world looks like after this big war with the White Walkers. But also when, the tricky thing with Bran is that we've seen his power is unlike anything that we can really explain, even with other, like the Blood Raven in the books and stuff. Like he can, we've seen it before, he can kind of go back and alter things that even have happened, even though the ink is dry. Like
he can,
the fact that
I think it's kind of like, this is my problem with time travel as a concept, because he's essentially gone back in time and done the thing that he was supposed to do, leading to the future where he's meant to go back in time to do the thing that he's supposed to do.
So has anything ever changed, or was all set? The
ink is dry. Time travel.
I'm lost.
So, we're going to die at Winterfell. Not the death I would have chosen.
So then the brothers, Jaime and Tyrion, get to hang out and catch up. It's been some time. They're back in Winterfell, obviously. I was kind of surprised that maybe more eyes aren't on these two, especially with Dany's kind of suspicious nature with Tyrion now, and also Jaime riding solo into Winterfell.
What's Varys up to?
Yeah.
He hasn't done anything in a while.
She needs some eyes on these guys if we do think there's some secret thing going on. But, they talk about basically like the future in the past and what could be. what
How
could
they wanna
happen,
die.
how they want to die. And the one line that stood out to me was what Tyrion said is you know,
About the 80 years old.
yes. Well, that was a good callback to season one. That was
Shagger.
that was awesome. But also that he might, you know, if he becomes the undead or the dead, he would then go down to King's Landing and kill Cersei. He's like, that would be the one,
Hey.
you know, that'd be the one shining hope for him. But that's literally the Valonqar prophecy, so that'd be hysterical if that's how it turned out.
Do you ever think the writers are just messing with the, you know, like in Black Mirror, sometimes they'll put in a screenshot
Yeah.
or like a piece of and something in the environment, like a newspaper, and if you pause and zoom in on it, it says, "Can't wait to see this on Reddit" or something.
Right. They're just
Sometimes
messing
I
with
feel
us.
like that's
Oh,
what.
they're definitely just winking at us. Yeah, totally. But yeah, I guess the one thing I also pulled from there was the pregnancy thing. Do we think it's real? I mean, Jaime thinks it's real, but I mean, Cersei manipulates everyone, including her own family.
Yeah, and it's the bit where he's like, "Oh, this baby's a turning point for us," and I don't think it's real.
Because both of these brothers, they still have some type of fondness if there's a child there, if there's like a you know, an innocent Lannister that's coming.
And it also kind of feeds into, you know, they'll do everything for their house, and that child would be the, you know, the final member of that house. You know, that would be the child that would pass their name on, But then again, you know, the dead's coming. There's not going to be much to pass on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the end of that scene, Jaime just kind of leaves Tyrion, which I thought was great, just to go talk to Brienne.
Yeah.
And they're flirting using military tactics.
Brienne's like kind of has been suppressing these feelings that she doesn't really know how to get out and share with Jaime. Jaime's being super nice, and he's, you know, honored to fight under her. And
I did really hope when he said that he would say, I can't, "Why did you come to Winterfell?" I really just wanted him to reply with, "Because you were there."
Yeah.
But he kind of did.
Yeah.
He kind of was like, "I'm not a good fighter anymore, but I would be honored to."
It's obvious. It's obvious. I also want to say, hey, Podrick leveled up, huh? He looks pretty badass in his training sequence.
Trainer in the Seven Kingdoms.
That's a good point. Really good point.
But no, he's doing great, and I just really like that moment. I think this episode has been full of just these just incredible little character moments.
Yeah.
And people are saying like, "Oh, it's fan service," and Phil Hornshaw raised this in our Slack. We were talking about Game of Thrones, and he was like, "No, it's just, you know, it's just writing the characters. It's not fan service. It's just the writers telling a story." And like,
that's why the show that's why we love it so much, is because even the small moments, like there could be no battle at all, and it's like episodes like this where you get to see Tyrion be Tyrion. You get some really good dialogue. You get to see Jaime, you know, just an emotional episode with him and Brienne.
you get to feel feelings.
Yeah, you really do.
But I'd be honored to serve under your command, if you'll have me. I better get back.
And then we get a meet up between Sansa and Dany, and this is a long time coming. They kind of need to work out a few things, let's say.
Clear the air.
It's like two lionesses like a meeting and trying to get their grievances aside and kind of figure out, hey, we need to work this out because of obviously what's coming down the road. And the big major thing I pulled from this is that like Sansa is like willing to work, and they do find a common ground. They both love Jon. But that she's like, okay, then what happens?
Well, that's the thing. We can see in this episode that Daenerys is so obsessed about the Iron Throne.
So obsessed.
And Sansa is obsessed with
The North.
the North. They don't have a throne. They have a nice chair in the Hall of Winterfell, but
She's sick of being controlled by others, basically.
especially the South.
Yes.
So I really loved that scene. I think both Emilia Clarke and Sophie Turner did a great job of just being really frosty.
Yeah.
And then melting a little bit and, you know, finding that common ground. And then as soon as Sansa goes, what'll happen to the North? The way that Daenerys just snatches
Pulls her
hand
hand away.
Ooh. Yes, bitch. I sat there with my roommates.
It was really good. It shows that they can work together, but there are things that still have to get kind of, you know, it's kind of scary because even if they get rid of the White Walker problem, like there is more challenges ahead. It's not just fixed. Yeah. It's not like happy ever after. It's going to be a bigger struggle to kind of figure out. Oh well, if you want the Iron Throne, then what does it mean for us up north? We want to be independent. You know, there's a lot of...
Are we going to do Star Wars prequels on this? Trade negotiations.
Yes.
No, that's the thing, though. What is going to happen to the North? Like, in the ideal scenario, what is the... Say, for example, say that Daenerys does end up on the throne. What is going to happen with the North? Is she going to marry Jon? Is she going to let it be its own province?
I think
the
I think the ideal thing is the Jon Dany thing, despite, you know, like nephew and auntie. But I think that is the ideal thing to link the North and the new Southern ruler. That makes the most sense for peace, right? Marriages bring peace to realms like this. So that's what I think. But
get Sansa on the throne.
What about the North? It was taken from us. We took it back, and we said we'd never bow to anyone else again. What about the North?
Theon arrives in Winterfell.
he interrupts that cold little meeting.
He does, because his redemption arc is not finished.
Almost there.
Oh, he's so gonna die next week, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's definitely dead.
In the Deadpool, the Game of Thrones Deadpool.
Yeah.
He's right up there.
But I was telling you before we shot this that like I didn't expect myself to get emotional during this scene, and it just hit me like, wow, him and Sansa have a connection because they've been to the lowest of lows together.
Yep.
And he literally is going to probably give his life in order to fight for Winterfell.
To do what's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought that was really great. And I think, what's incredible as well is that Sansa has been she was this kind of like weak girl who was crying and just, and then she went through so much that made her really strong. And then to see her kind of break down when Theon arrives.
Mm-hmm.
I got a bit teary at this
He
bit.
knows, I think it's a result of him like being there, like seeing exactly what happened and the monster that Ramsay was and what he did to her. So yeah, a familiar face that kind of brings out all these emotions, and then now knowing that like he didn't go to the Iron Islands, he wants to fight for Winterfell and he's willing to give his life. It's an incredible moment.
I want to fight for Winterfell, Lady Sansa. If you'll have me.
All right, so let's talk about how many parallels we can pull from the Two Towers. And
This is me. This is all me. So yeah, this kind of sparked off because it's the scene where Ed and Beric and everyone come back from Last Hearth.
Yeah.
And I was watching this and I was like, oh, this feels familiar. You know how last week was all the parallels to season 1, episode 1?
Yeah, totally.
This episode, it was parallels to The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers,
Yeah.
the fine 2002 movie based on the novel by J.R.R. Tolkien.
Mm-hmm.
But seriously, it was like the setup to Helm's Deep in a ton of ways. And I don't mean this to be reductive in any way, because The Two Towers is possibly the greatest fantasy film ever made. Ooh, big words. But
Yeah.
in terms of, I think as well, what The Two Towers did was that it set this entire new benchmark for a battle sequence.
Right.
And I think part of the reason why it was so successful, and something that's being mirrored in this episode, is that it had the setup. The Two Towers had just such an incredible setup to even get to the battle. So, things that you can also draw from Game of Thrones is that, the regular people are scared to fight.
Mm-hmm.
They are, they work in fields. They're not
warriors.
soldiers. They're not warriors at all. Instead of women and children going into the caves in Helm's Deep, they're going into the crypts.
Yep.
You have a young girl that wants to fight. Which is kind of, also she had a scar on her face, so clearly a little nod to Shireen there, which was kind of nice. And that girl, she kind of reminded me of Éowyn. But I guess if you really want a parallel to Éowyn, it would definitely be Lyanna Mormont. But Éowyn, Shield Maiden of Rohan, she doesn't want to just be stuck with all the women and children. She wants to fight, just like that little girl does, but she's going to just protect the crypt instead.
Yeah.
So yeah, the thing that really sparked off this in my head was when the horn blew and the Night's Watch came, and I was like, isn't that exactly what happens when the horn blows and Haldir and all the elves from Lorien arrive in Lord of the Rings? Kind of is a bit similar, because, they go down and, like, oh, you are most welcome, that kind of thing. So the thing is as well, when Jon is talking, he says, our enemy doesn't tire, doesn't stop, doesn't feel. Kind of very similar to the Uruk-hai. They run as if the very whips of their masters were behind them.
Yeah.
They do not come to destroy Rohan's crops or villages. They come to destroy its people down to the last child. Also very similar. Pod. I'm going through the whole episode here. You've got me on a real tangent.
Yeah.
Pod singing.
Right.
Very similar to Pippin singing. This is,
yeah.
Return of the King. But Pippin's last song before the Battle of Pelennor Fields. And they're also waiting for dawn in Game of Thrones. They said, they'll be here tomorrow morning. This is a real stretch because in Lord of the Rings, it's, first light on the 5th day.
Right.
Look to the east. So after I was going through all these comparisons, I then watched the scene where Theoden rides out, cried. So I'm just prepped for
really
next week.
Yeah, no, it's really good. And obviously we've heard how big this battle, how long it took to make this battle.
It's
it's literally
than-
inspired. It's inspired by what we've seen. Helm's Deep, one of the greatest battles ever on film. And I think that what we're going to see in the next episode is going to rival that, which is saying a lot for a TV show, even on
Miguel.
HBO. It's going to be incredible. It took the longest to shoot out of any of the battles. It doubled, or it was twice as long.
ever.
Yeah,
That's
so
insane.
yeah, a lot of Two Towers in this setup.
I might go watch it again.
I need to watch it now.
We can't beat them in a straight fight.
So what can we do?
The Night King made them all. They follow his command.
All right, so all of our guys are kind of hanging out and making their game plan. They have the whole map, and it doesn't look good from the map. I don't know. There's a lot of White Walkers on that map.
Yeah. I also loved how awkward Alice Karstark was.
Yes.
She was just like,
What's going on here? This is crazy.
is this the Crips?
Yeah.
Am I in the Crips right now?
Yeah. But we learn more about everyone's kind of chiming in and giving their input, and we learn about Bran kind of basically tells us that the Night King is going to want to go after him.
So we
And
finally have a motivation for the Night King.
Which we never knew. He was just like this unstoppable force that was just coming down south and going to kill.
He is still kind of
Yeah,
an unstoppable force. He's coming down south to kill.
Still that. But now we know that he wants to kill the Three-Eyed Raven and kind of end all of human history and memory.
Yeah. Where is it? It's like, oh God, where's the reference from where it says, you never really truly die until someone forgets your name or, the things that you've done, which is very much what the Night King wants to do. He wants to completely snuff out humanity, and to do that he needs to get rid of their living memory, I suppose, which is the Three-Eyed Raven.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that he said that, he's tried this countless times. Is this the first Three-Eyed Raven who's been branded? And so that the Night King can always find him.
It's almost like this is like the easiest opportunity he's had.
Yeah.
The Night King, yeah.
The best opportunity he's had. And so Bran's plan is to sort of lure him out into the open in the Godswood.
Because remember, if we kill him, then we think that everyone else will fall. All of the Whites will fall. All of the that he turned, or the White Walkers that he turned, would then fall.
And
so
then everyone
kill
will
the head. Hopefully everything
like a huge
dies.
domino.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so Theon has opted to be out.
You know what?
Protect him.
If you want someone to protect you, do you pick Theon? Are you like,
No, I picked Brienne.
Exactly. I would want the best fighters around me to protect Bran. I'm like, I don't know if Theon is the right person for the job.
No.
Like, he can interview for the job, but I don't think he's getting that job.
He's second in line for the job. No, and as well, so I read a theory online where there may be more significance to do with the Weirwood tree because of how the first White Walker, how the Night King was made,
created,
he was around the Weirwood trees.
Right. And normally those trees are just used for worship and to speak to the old gods, right?
Yeah, but I think there's got to be more there. I think maybe what if the Weirwood tree is helps amplify the power or something
Of Bran's powers.
Yeah. There's certainly some, really old magic going on there.
Right.
I think as well, my other favorite bit from this scene was the fact that Jon has just been awkwardly avoiding Dany the whole time.
Right.
And in this scene in particular, it's like, oh, all right.
Right.
And just sneaks
at the end of the
away.
first episode, then Sam's like, this is
tell him,
the
man.
truth, and he's like kind of just waiting. He's like, I can't do it yet. Which, when is the right time to say that? Especially when in 6 hours or whatever, there's gonna be a great battle that you might not survive.
By the way,
You're my aunt.
hi, Auntie.
I'd like to see the beaches again.
Then I will take you there.
My people are peaceful. We cannot protect ourselves.
My people are not peaceful. We will protect you.
Then we get Missandei and Grey Worm, one of our favorite couples. But
Not really been given much to do here, are they?
I'm sorry, but like Grey Worm's gonna die. It was like, let's talk about our future. Yeah, beaches. Beaches are great.
100%.
Like that was really that was just like bye bye Grey Worm. That's gonna be heartbreaking to see next week. But
as soon as she was like, I just want to go home. I just want to see.
yeah,
I want to see mountains, Gandalf.
and then we also get the return of Ghost.
The king.
You're really into. She's
I really want to watch Lord of the Rings.
She
again.
really wants Lord of the Rings. Guys, we're going to watch Lord of the Rings all week long before the next episode of Game of Thrones. Who's with us?
Sorry, yes, continue.
We do get the return of Ghost.
Oh my god.
Took long enough, right? The last time we saw him was season 6 after Jon's resurrection, correct?
Something like that.
Yeah, it's been a ridiculous amount of time.
God, so there's no dragons in this episode, but you see Ghost at the corner of the bloody scene. Did you see the credits? How many people work on Ghost? It's like 20
It takes a lot of a lot of manpower and computers
to have a
huge
a
CGI dog.
looking CGI dog. I was glad he's there.
Same.
I think if he hadn't have been in there, people would have absolutely just been.
I honestly think that they've been holding out so long that not only did we get that, but there has to be some epic scene in this fight next week where we see direwolves and we're going to see dragons. We got to see an aerial combat. Like we need a lot because they kind of held back. I mean, who am I to tell HBO what to spend their money on? But they
get them on the phone.
They held back a little bit. I think that a lot of resources, obviously, as we know, are going to go into this next episode.
Yeah, 100%. I just think as well this scene. To have Ed, Sam, and Jon talking about look where we started.
Yeah.
Sam, the first man to kill a White Walker.
I love that
kill
bit.
Thenns.
Yeah.
Thenn.
I love that bit with
Sam.
Sam. People forget about that, man. Sam is decorated.
Dude, Sam is great. I just thought that was a really nice, again, really great character moment. Just kind of, I think a lot of the times, especially in things like Marvel movies and DC, you have all of this storied, super intense, super stressful situations, and then they're sort of never really referenced again until you get to something like an Infinity War where they talk about the past.
Right.
But having these moments where they're all reflecting on what they've done and what they've managed to come through, and when they're talking about the Battle of the Blackwater, and it's just been really nice.
Yeah, I also think it's really cool to see sometimes tradition. We hear Tormund talking about tradition and F tradition, and I think it changes over time, right? You have to adapt to it. So the Night's Watch, they had their oath back then, and now it's kind of had to change, and now they're doing their own version of the Night's Watch, like literally watching out for the Night King. So tradition does change over time, and sometimes you have to kind of give up a part of that past in order to kind of move forward, and I think this is a good example of that.
Last man alive, burn the rest.
Yeah.
No, it's just us three. Last man left, burn the rest of us.
So then we get the proper last night before the battle, everyone just having a drink together and reminiscing.
By the way, how much alcohol is too much alcohol before a fight?
How strong do you think that stuff is?
That's a good point, though, too.
I don't know. I think it's mostly sugar at this point.
Yeah.
The last night, and everyone's talking, they're reminiscing. Tormund telling his great story. Dude,
amazing.
That milk. Is he just carrying that around with him? Is that regular milk? Or has he bottled some Giant's milk?
I think that's just the regular, that's just goat milk he found probably close by. But he grew up on that Giant's milk.
That's how he
made him such a tough dude.
Yeah, that's.
Didn't he also have sex with a bear?
Well, he claims to.
He has quite a past.
He has
quite a past.
Quite a storied history.
Yeah.
And then you've got everyone. You've got Arya and the Hound on top of the battlements, and then Beric joins the Hound saying, "Oh my God, it's like a wedding."
A bloody wedding.
Bloody wedding.
Like a bloody wedding. Yeah.
Just the two of them kind of showing mutual respect for each other.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, when have you ever fought for someone who wasn't yourself? I fought for you, didn't I? That was just a sort of nice moment because he recognizes how much she's changed.
Totally, 100%.
But I think the real PG-13
Are we getting into this right now? Yeah.
Yeah. So Arya and Gendry. So we see her having a go with the bow and arrow again. She's just hitting every single mark.
Yep.
She's got a weapon from Gendry, similar to what she used to train.
Faceless Man training.
The Faceless Men. And then he reveals, more and more people know now, you know, that he's Robert Baratheon's bastard.
Right.
And she
Reveals herself.
does the most awkward. I mean, very good. She does the most awkward chat interrogation.
Flirtation, yeah,
Is
interrogation.
that flirtation?
I think she was just looking to add those 3 women to her kill list.
Oh, maybe.
Eventually.
I couldn't. Was she just like trying to figure out if like he knew what he was doing?
I think she was in love with him when she saw him and saw a family. I saw him as like a close person that could be family to her. And you know, the thing about relationships and sex in the show is never is it on the woman's choice. Well, a lot of the time it isn't.
It's
I think to show that here was awesome. That like, okay, she knew what she wanted. She was going to go get it. And it wasn't like anything that we've seen in the past where the horrible rape or the prostitution. It's like, she's a woman, she's strong, and she can go get it. So I think it was really cool that they did that.
Get it, girl. And also, it's kind of nice that, you know, Ned and Robert Baratheon talked about, you know, joining their houses.
That line, yeah.
You have a son, I have a daughter, let's join our houses.
Who would have thought that it would have been this?
Yeah. Another parallel to season 1.
Yeah.
And also, you got to see her gnarly scars.
Ouch.
Yeah. Did she have the scars here? Like on her stomach where the waif like repeatedly stabbed her?
I took it like it was it was from
like
that
from
attack, from the waif attack, and it was, you know, probably huge incision. Like probably should have died from that, by the way. Like that was pretty gnarly. But she's strong as hell, yeah. But that I think it just showed exactly like she's been through some stuff.
I'm no king, but if I were, I'd knight you 10 times over.
So this, possibly my favorite scene in Game of Thrones ever.
It's definitely like top 5, top 10, I would say, in terms of the smaller moments that are just so touching. Like we both teared up. I don't know who wouldn't if you were like, this invested in these characters.
Oh my god!
And I guess it's. I mean, he made history, right, by knighting her.
Yeah,
no
tradition.
Female. Yeah,
just
F
the way
tradition.
that they all, you know, like Brienne has tears in her eyes. The way that Jaime's looking on, he's so proud of her, and the way that Tormund applauds, and everyone, you know, so Brienne.
It was so well acted by like everyone across the board.
God, it was so good.
You know, Tyrion cheersing them at the end, and you know, it's something that Brienne always wanted, but was kind of scared to share that she wanted that to others.
Yeah,
and
she never. I think, you know, she was protecting herself so she wouldn't get hurt.
Right.
putting it out
And I think there's a small moment where you notice that, you know, she's like kind of like downplaying it, and then you see Pod look at her, and Pod kind of knows like, I know you want this, and then she goes for it. And it was just a beautiful moment.
So last week I said I wanted Jorah and Lyanna Mormont to be reunited. I kind of meant just to meet. I got called out in the comments because people were like,
I think I got called up too. Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't met before. And I was like, okay. Semantics. I just wanted them to meet. I just wanted her to rip his head off and just yell at him, which she kind of did. She was very, you know, a little boss. She was like, even though he's saying, you know, you are the future of our house, she said, I don't care. I'm not going to hide in there with the women and children. I'm going to fight. It was very nice, but then at the end, the way she says, you know, good. I wish you good fortune, cousin, which was very, you know, because even she can let bygones be bygones.
Yeah.
Because of the real threat, which I thought was just really, really nice. And then, like we said last week in the preview, Sam gives Heartsbane to Jorah.
Yes, Sam knows that he's not the fighter, obviously, and he wants to give the Valyrian steel to someone that could put it to good use. And obviously, I thought it was, you know, he said that Jorah said that like you still have a family, like the sad thing
not that
is
many.
The sad thing is that his family's kind of gone, except for the family that now he creates with Gilly and Little Sam.
Yes, I think maybe that's what he's probably referring to at this point, because I think you know the Tarleys as a family, like his mother will still be there, and I'm sure he has like assorted siblings and
totally.
He has a sister, doesn't he?
I think so. Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, his family now is Gilly and Little Sam. So we touched upon the song, Jenny Goldstones.
Yep.
Pod, lovely voice,
Very,
skilled in
very
bed,
beautiful voice. Yeah.
skilled singer.
Yep.
So book readers might recognize this song. Well, actually, it's a kind of like, in terms of how big the songs are in the books and stuff, this is quite, I don't know, like not the song that I would have expected to hear. Like you could imagine Reigns of Castamere is always referenced or whatever, but Jenny Goldstones. So the story of this song is that there was a Targaryen prince who was betrothed to a daughter of House Baratheon, and he broke that in order to marry a commoner called Jenny. So Jenny was friends with a witch who she brought to court, because you know that's what I do with all my witchy friends. I bring them into to see royalty. And this witch prophesied that the prince that was promised, recognize that name, would be born from the line of Aerys and Rhaella Targaryen, who were brother and sister. So their father made them marry, and Aerys is the one that you might know as the Mad King, who birthed. Well, he didn't. He played a part in the process. But they had 3 children. You might know better as Viserys, Rhaegar, and Daenerys.
Yes.
So, prince that was promised coming back into play.
It's either one of those 3, and we know it could be Dany, or it could be someone farther down along the line.
Yeah.
Rhaegar's kids, which is obviously Aegon Targaryen, Jon Snow.
Yes.
The prince or princess that was promised, as we know, it could be translated poorly.
My queen, there was a mistake with the translation.
Yes.
So, I don't know if the witch from, this story is the witch, Maggie the Frog.
The Cersei witch?
Who's obsessed, with prophesizing.
Mm-hmm.
But the Brotherhood, in the books, the Brotherhood Without Banners, there is a witch that they visit, and she always wants to hear their minstrel sing that song. And apparently Rob and Catelyn actually discussed that song shortly before the Red Wedding, because obviously it mirrors similarly to what happens to Rob in that he marries a commoner.
Right.
And, refuses to marry who he's supposed to.
Right, which has happened probably countless times in the history, but it also made me the theme of the things we do for love kept on coming back to me.
Things we do for love.
We heard that from Bran saying, and obviously Jaime said it in season 1, episode 1, when he tossed him out the window. But you're willing to give up, the Iron Throne for someone that you love, and it kind of makes you think, what's going to happen to Jon and Dany? Will they be able to? Will one or the other try to be able to give that up?
Well, I think there's only really one who wants it, Dany. But there's speculation about that song as well, is that Rhaegar himself might have written it.
Right.
So when she's in the crypt with Jon, Dany says, I can't believe Rhaegar did this to Lyanna. He's so nice. He's a composer. He liked to sing. So it's actually, kind of creating your own history there, I guess.
Yeah.
If you just took the old story and then made a nice little song out of it.
And this whole thing kind of also made me think, not only the song, but then also when we get Jon and Dany in the crypts is, Sam reminded Jon, like, you gave up your crown to save your people. Will Dany do the same thing?
No.
Yeah, it seems like Dany has one singular focus.
Yeah.
And it's having the power, having the control, and being on the Iron Throne. But I mean, let's get into it right now. When they do meet in the crypts, they don't have a lot of time to kind of digest that conversation. It happens really quickly and gets interrupted again. Another conversation that gets interrupted this episode. But I found it significant that Jon didn't immediately say, "I don't want it."
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, he could have assuaged her fears very, very easily if he just gone, "Look, I know it's your deal."
Yeah.
But she also just got really angry very quickly.
Upset, emotional,
hurt,
angry.
The way that she goes, "Oh, so a secret that no one else knew except for your brother and your best friend."
A little defensive, yeah.
Just immediately shutting him down.
Because the Jon we know, he's the first to say, "I don't want this. People have crowned me. People have wanted me for the King of the North, but I don't want this." But I found it a little just significant that he didn't already just like turn it down. Like, hey, this is who I am, but by the way, like, you're still queen.
Kinda. Queen of my heart.
It would make you the last male heir of House Targaryen. You'd have a claim to the Iron Throne.
So then everyone's kind of saying their final goodbyes. Sansa and Theon sharing a meal. You've got Arya and Gendry lying there. Sam with his family. Missandei and Grey Worm have one final kiss because he is
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And then it kind of ends, they're here. Tyrion is on the battlements. Why is he there? He was ordered to go to the crypts.
Yeah.
Something's going on.
Speaking of the crypts, the boys have an amazing fan theory.
What a segue. That's very
about
good.
what could be in those crypts. We've long theorized about what could be down there, but the boys did all the work, and they have an awesome theory of what could be down there.
Could there be a fourth dragon under Winterfell? We will say we are recording this before we've seen episode 2, so hopefully 35 dragons haven't emerged and just destroyed this theory. But while this is one that is one of the most far-fetched theories, it doesn't mean that it's without evidence.
Yeah, so let's take a trip back down to the history of Westeros and Winterfell. It's been pretty well documented that Winterfell is actually built upon a bunch of hot springs. It's one of the most northern castles in Westeros. It is cold AF over there. So in terms of architecture, they had to bear that in mind, that the people inside are going to need to be heated, otherwise everyone's just going to freeze to death.
Yeah.
So the castle actually is capable of like redirecting heat into different parts of itself, just to keep people warm and make sure that, you know, no one's catching frostbite out in the open. So those hot springs are actually a key part of establishing the foundation for the fourth dragon theory.
Yeah, in one of the wider universe books that George R.R. Martin wrote...
You know, the RR stands for really writes.
There is a character named Maester Yandel, and Yandel explains that the springs under Winterfell are heated by the furnace of the world. Now, there are two other places that are described having similar hot springs, the furnace of the world sort of stuff, and that is Valyria, where obviously dragons were knocking about everywhere, might be an exaggeration, and Dragonstone, where obviously the Targaryens settled with their last surviving dragons after the doom of Valyria. The books also state that the people who live in Wintertown, the built-up areas outside Winterfell that we see in episode 1, they believe that the pools of water are heated by the breath of a great dragon that lives under Winterfell
That
itself.
sounds like drunken talk.
Too much wine.
So another thing is that it's speculated that gifting dragons was actually customary when a Targaryen child was born. As Reddit user Jen Snow points out, Aegon Targaryen had one placed in his cradle when he was born. So it's possible that when Jon Snow was born, there was also an egg for him. But when, you know, Lyanna gave Ned Jon and said, take care of him, kind of left that behind, and what happened was the kind of belongings of Lyanna were taken away and put into the crypts underneath Winterfell. So that would kind of effectively explain how a dragon would get placed into the crypts of Winterfell.
Yeah, Ned would have had to leave with a bag of like nappies and baby formula. There might have been a dragon egg in there. The thing is though, what state would that dragon be in? It is speculated that it could be frozen and that it was thawed out when Winterfell was put to the torch by the Boltons. It could have hatch and just be chilling out there, maybe in a little spot of dragon hibernation. But my guess is that it would have had to have been thawed or hatched soon enough that it's A, not starved to death, and B, will actually make a difference in the final battle. A further theory to tie this all together a little more neatly is that Bran would warg into this new dragon in the final battle. It was partially seeded when the Three-Eyed Raven would said that he would fly as he would no longer walk. And there's obviously, you can't ride a dragon without Targaryen blood, but warging in it, that might like be a loophole through that. Alternatively, if we consider the theory that Bran warged through time into Bran the Builder to give him inspiration to build the wall, then he would know the threat that's coming and he would know what else would be needed. So he could also have given him the idea of, you know, keeping a dragon down there because he now knows that they're important to the final battle after Daenerys has turned up with her two.
Obviously, the natural counterpoint is like, why bother at all? And, you know, he built the wall knowing that it would fall.
Because time travel, Tam.
Time travel, and Jon Snow is now where he needs to be. He's boning his aunt, he's got a dragon, and...
He likes to watch it when they're boning out. With the Targaryen ancient phrase as well, a dragon has 3 heads, we are still missing one, assuming that the big frosty boy doesn't count anymore.
Are we missing one though?
Well, that's the thing. Eagle-eyed Lucy James pointed out that in the opening credits of episode 1, when we see the big astrolabe, that big gold ring thing that hangs out in the Citadel, that actually has it carved into it 4 dragons and a shooting star.
Yeah, see, I didn't believe the theory. It was like a series of conspiracies, but when you get enough conspiracies together, they form a fact.
And as well, if Bran warged into the dragon, I think it would nicely represent the coming together of the houses. As Jon said in Dragonstone, we all need to team up like the Children of the Forest did. It would be Daenerys, who the true full-blooded Targaryen, Bran, who's the full-blooded Stark.
Smoking weed every day.
And Jon, who it seems like he's got the blood of Targaryen, but his heart and soul still belongs to the Starks. So that would represent a nice coming together of all the houses. Let us know if you think this theory holds any water or not, but for now, to see what's coming up in episode 3, we're going to throw back to Lucy and Ryan.
Dragon's Breath can't melt steel memes.
Probably can.
Okay, time to break down the next time on Game of Thrones teaser trailer. So obviously it's going to be the huge battle.
We won't know the title until after it airs, probably.
Why they do? I mean, I kind of respect why they're doing that, but also it makes writing these scripts kind of difficult. Cause you're like, so you know, obviously the Unsullied up front.
Yep.
Bye, Grey Worm. He's out. Come
He's
on,
out.
he's got to be out. You've got Sansa saying the most heroic thing we can do now is look the truth in the face. What truth?
I think that's about Jon.
Yeah.
Of who he is, of who he really is, and it's just going to make things a lot more complicated when it comes down to, you know, trusting each other and kind of the tension there that underlies the whole thing between the North and South.
Mm-hmm. And then you kind of got like a ton of little, you know, shots from the battle.
Very quickly,
so you've got
yeah.
Dany and Jon overlooking the battlefield. You've got Sam looking super stressed in the thick of the thing.
Varys in the
thick
crypts.
things.
Yeah.
Varys in the crypts. Well, he's where he's supposed to be.
Yep.
Davos is out in the battlements. So is Sansa and Arya. Tyrion looking shifty.
Jon, the Night King, is coming, and looks like there's fire behind him, and he's ready to fight. He brings his sword out.
Because I know they're planning on using the dragons to, you know, set a bunch of stuff on fire, because obviously that makes sense.
Yep.
But why would there be fire in the Godswood? You've got, you know, when Theon has the shot of Theon, he has a bow and arrow with the flaming.
Fire, yeah.
You also see Arya running through the crypts. That's the infamous one from the trailer that everyone's been speculating about. So we also have Dany saying the dead are already here. Is this going to be...
I mean, I think this is definitely happening. I think that I mean, there's numerous times throughout this episode in the season is like, the crypts are safe. The crypts are safe. Go down to the crypts. It's safe. The crypts are not safe. And I found it just utterly idiotic why Jon knows that he can raise the dead. He's seen them raise the dead, and numerous other people have seen them raise the dead. So, you know, let's burn the dead bodies. They've even talked about this: burn the dead bodies. There are a lot of dead in the crypts, and it's either that or it's that the infamous tunnels underneath Winterfell that kings and from in the past have kind of used to get in and out, and smugglers and all that kind of stuff. And Theon knows about these as well, right? So it's either that they're either climbing up through other passageways. But I really think that would scare the shit out of anyone, including Arya.
Yeah, 100%. The only other thing here is that I think that's Daenerys on a dragon.
I think it's Daenerys. I paused and I looked a little bit closer. I don't know. Let us know if you guys get a better look. But it didn't look like the Night King. It looked like Daenerys. No, it didn't
have. Well, Viserion didn't.
It didn't have blue eyes.
Didn't
so
have
it
blue
wasn't.
eyes. So I don't think it was Viserion. I think
that's great. We're gonna see some like in-air, like aerial combat with the dragons. Now, do we think that the Night King is going to show up at Winterfell on dragon, or is he gonna take some? Is he gonna route somewhere else and wait and send all of his White Walkers in and whites and then just kind of wait?
I don't know. And then I mean the only big thing that I kind of caught was that Beric and the Hound go off by themselves to die, probably.
It's gonna be an extremely emotional episode. We're gonna lose anywhere from, I think, at least 5 to 6 like big characters that we've enjoyed, with not thousands of other people.
So
but,
I think predictions: Theon
dead,
the Hound
dead.
No, because if the Hound goes, we won't get Clegane Bowl. I rescind the Hound.
Okay.
So Theon.
Yeah, Beric.
As much as it pains me, Davos.
Jorah.
No,
okay.
I think Jorah is going to stay. Brienne.
Jaime stays.
Jaime stays. Maybe Varys. No.
I could see that.
Gendry.
Because
Ooh.
I could see Varys. I could see a lot of people that were in the crypts thinking that they're safe, being the first killed, and literally the battle starts from within Winterfell and just catches all of them off guard. Now there's no death of the week, but let's pick our favorite line of the week.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Sometimes we have to dig deep. Remember, like, there was the time we had to do hat of the week?
Did you guys really?
Yeah, we did Hat of the Week. My favorite line from this week's episode, as much as I kind of wanted to be an emotional, like one about Brienne and her finally becoming a Sir, I think my favorite line, the one that made me chuckle the most, was, "You as well, it's like a bloody wedding." Sure, I've censored that a little bit, but I think the Hound, just that great dry wit. What about you?
That was awesome. Mine was Tormund. Obviously, he had a lot of great stuff this episode, about the being raised on giant's breast milk. But mine was actually when he first arrives into Winterfell, and his first reaction is the big woman here still here? Like I was just dying laughing. Like he's not giving up.
I really hope he survives.
I don't know if he'll make it out. I don't know if he'll make it out next episode.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, we're back again next week. We'll have more from the boys.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God. So many people are going to die.
Yeah. Let us know any of your predictions you have for the next episode in the comments below. We love to hear from you guys, so keep it here. Make sure you're subscribed, and we will see you every Monday. And bring tissues next week, yeah? Yeah, just bring tissues.